physiologically, it's a non-starter. So I was like, is he saying he's gay, or is he saying he can't rape? Like he's not a, like, physiologically it's a non-starter. I was like, what does that mean?
I thought he was saying how ugly his wife was.
I finally
Watched.
I finally
Watched.
I
finally
watched. I
finally
watched.
I finally
Watched.
Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of I Finally Watched. This is David.
And this is Alain, and I finally watched The Accountant.
So I saw The Accountant, I'd say a couple years after it came out, and I was very unimpressed by it. But it is a movie that I've watched several times since, because it falls in that, they don't do a lot of these movies for men, these action movies where it's just one guy against the world. We don't get many of them.
Yeah.
But the few we do are nice to put on when you're, trying to get some work done or whatever, just in the background.
I'm gonna counter your point, and I know you were being sarcastic, but
Yeah.
actually there is a few movies like this movie in particular that I feel like throughout the years are easy to go back to, and one of those is Shooter
Yes.
with Mark Wahlberg.
I thought about Shooter.
It really reminded me of Shooter.
It does. There's a lot of these movies that are they're just not, they're highly entertaining, but they all have glaring like deficiencies in them. Shooter has that, even though it's kind of one of my favorites to watch over and over again. The Equalizer movies has a lot. I have a lot of problems.
Four Brothers.
Yeah, I wouldn't consider that. The movies I'm talking about are like one guy against the world, and this is like a super soldier. So like this, Shooter, Equalizer, John Wick, to a certain extent, James Bond, Mission Impossible.
Yeah, but I don't
and
consider those in the same caliber.
those are a little different because those are government related. So your Jason Bourne, Mission Impossible, and your James Bond. I think
But
those are their own thing.
I wouldn't even put Die Hard in this category.
I wouldn't either. No, this is like a guy who's fighting the system from without, whereas those other ones he's fighting a system from within. And Die Hard is just Die Hard is its own genre. It became its own genre. There was like Die Hard on a plane, Die Hard on a boat. You know what I mean? Like that's its own thing. So
even Speed was like Die Hard on a bus. And also there's this like occurring theme with this
I think
movie.
It's recurring, not occurring.
Reoccurring theme where it's a government agent also being on the tail end of this, like chasing the goal perpendicular to our hero.
Parallel, yeah, I agree.
Parallel?
Yeah.
Well, sometimes perpendicular.
Yeah, I mean, and there's all sorts of crossover. This, John Wick, interestingly enough, is like, I haven't seen the fourth one. I thought the third one was pretty bad. I loved 1 and 2. That one is like its own world. It's self-contained. The other outside real world never really crosses paths with it. But a lot of the other ones, Equalizer's got a government element to it. Shooter does. All of them, yeah. I mean, it's a good bad guy to have. So first time I watched this, wasn't a big fan of it. I just thought it had a lot of like issues.
Sure.
The more I've watched it, the more I like it. The Jon Bernthal makes everything better. So
yes.
I think that's a really good twist. I was reading apparently that if you like watch the DVD of this and you have the subtitles on, that it fucking ruins the twist for you.
Really?
Because when the son talks in the flashbacks, it uses his name. It's like Brax says this. And then when Jon Bernthal appears on the screen, it says Brax.
Oh my God. So, so I didn't have subtitles and I watched this on Amazon, and once again Taylor joined me in watching this. I was like, hey babe, I need to watch an I Finally Watched movie tonight. She's like, oh, what's it called, who's in it? And I was like, it's called The Accountant. It's with Ben Affleck. She goes, oh, does he play an accountant? I'm like, yep. And then that's all she knew going into it. But like the first scene is like this shooting, like you don't know you're watching through J.K. Simmons' eyes, but it's J.K. Simmons' POV through the building of everyone being dead, right? So It does give away immediately that this is that type of movie. So it's not like she was like, it's not like the first scene was like, Ben Affleck helping this old couple with their taxes, right? It's like
Right.
you know what this movie is immediately. Jon Berthnal comes in the scene.
What is
gives
his name? What's his name?
Bernthal
Okay. You said like Bergnall or something.
like a medicine.
Yeah.
Um, he gets into the car with the guy with the silencer, right?
Yeah.
He's doing his monologue, and I turn to Taylor and I go, I think that's the brother. And
Yeah.
she goes, what, whose brother? And I'm like, well, why would they keep flashing back to like brothers scenes, right? Like the this it's building up the brother character almost as much as it's building up Ben Affleck's character. And I was like, and like they kind of like I could believe that Ben Affleck and John are brothers. Like
Right.
if you were to show me a picture side by side, I had no idea who those people were, and you're like they're brothers, I'd be like, yeah. And I'm like in my head, I'm like, I'm calling it now. They're brothers. And then of course at the end of the movie, I'm like, yeah, of course, they're brothers. But I do want to say, and Taylor point this out too, it's like they did a pretty good job with the little kid Ben Affleck looking like a little kid Ben Affleck. The John little kid does not look like he would grow up to be John Braxton at all.
Yeah, I find that to be like such an I don't care thing. Like
Sure.
just get the hair right. Like get the hair color right
Was
and
that
make it
the hair
believable.
color? Yeah.
That's all that matters. I thought that was a very obvious reveal, and it's because the movie is so contained.
Yes.
There's not a lot of extraneous stuff in it that it's like, yeah, they're showing this kid, obviously. They don't use the name. Like it's not I think that's probably one of the problems I had with it going into it is I was like, oh, it was so obvious. So at the time that this movie came out, I think I had just started my job at Deloitte. And I just remember when this came out, in the commercial, you have the line of J.K. Simmons saying, when you have to like clean up your money, who do you call? Deloitte, H&R Block, and like all the people at Deloitte were fucking pissed because they're like, we're a lot different than H&R Block. Like, don't compare us to H&R Block. And I was
No,
like, I don't think
he's
that.
making a point.
I don't think that's the point. Yeah, I know, but they're salty, and so and I didn't see it for a couple after. I definitely didn't see this one in theaters. So I saw it on some sort of streaming a few years after.
I obviously watched it like yesterday for the first time, but I remember I had to look it up too. I was like, what year did this come out? And it was 2016. And I was like, I remember the trailer for this so vividly because it's basically that scene where he saves the old couple from the bad guys at their
At the
farm.
farm.
It's basically that whole scene was the trailer for the movie. Like him shooting them in the doorway out in the middle of the field, chasing down the car, and then he says like this line like, or I don't even know if that made it into the movie, right? But he's like what was it? It was something like, you do more than just accounting, don't you? Or something like that, or something dumb for like the trailer purposes. But it was basically, do you remember? It was basically that scene just as a trailer.
Sort of, yeah. I mean, I was reading up, and I remember it like reading it. There's a bunch of stuff in the trailer that is not like in the movie, that they added for like for effect or whatever. So I like finishing up though. I'm like, I've put this on several times, like in the background since, and each time, and I've like discussed it with Garrett. Like each time, I'm like, I kind of like this a little bit more. I actually think this might be kind of good, and this time, like when you're watching it more analytically, I'm like, yes, there are like issues with it, but it's very fun, and I think like the main, I don't know, problem. I always am like, if you like take away, if you're like, oh, the movie is trying to say this, I'm like, I mean, that's an interpretation of it. But it does very much seem that the movie is like, hey, to cure autism, we should try immersion therapy. That like we shouldn't coddle these autistic kids. We should just throw them into the wolves and make warriors out of them.
It is an interesting look at like what 2016 thinks about autism.
But the thing is, I don't think that's what like 2016 thought about it either. I thought it was like a very odd take on it. Like, and you could say that it's just this movie. It's not like
Sure.
trying to tell you, but
Sure. No, but I think you have to look at it in two ways. Is one, I think the movie itself is kind of progressive in the way it puts a magnifying glass on autistic people, especially the terminologies they use, especially the terminologies that the character of like the psychiatrist in the beginning who owns like the facility, he uses neurotypical, and that's not something that was really heard of back then. Now it's like every other person is whatever. But the immersion and not coddling the autistic people and like having them to be like, hey, get over it. That's a viewpoint of the dad. And the dad is not painted as a positive character in the light of the movie.
But it is shown that it like worked, right? Because when you see the kid when he first goes to that facility, whatever, I forget the name of it, he like freaks out because he can't find a puzzle piece. And throughout the movie, you see him like, hey, I have to finish what I start. And so that's kind of a through line. But he's like freaking out, hyperventilating because he can't find this puzzle piece, freaking out when the mom leaves, throwing a fit. And you see him sort of controlling that later in his life. Although he
Diet and
does,
exercise, baby. Diet and exercise.
yeah, a lot of red meat.
No, but
So,
also, well, there, off of what you're saying, it's yes, that's true, but you can't exactly say that Ben Affleck's character ended up being a stable human being
he's the hero. He's killing
with a
bad guys.
lot of psychological problems. Like, still, right? Like, he's like under stressful situations, and he has to do the Solomon Grundy thing.
He's because he's in stressful situations. There's not the stress isn't from like he bought the wrong amount of bananas. The stress is from like he's got to kill people. It's like it's a normal amount of stress, and he's dealing with it.
I didn't think that the movie was being like, hey, this is how you solve autism. I thought the movie made it pretty clear, like, hey, this is how the dad wants to deal with it. And it's kind of a fucked up way to do it.
Well, but the guy who is like what I guess you would in the movie would be like an expert on this. It's at Harvard Neuroscience, right? He's like, your son will never lead like a normal life. Like he'll come here, we'll teach him how to survive, and potentially maybe he'll be able to live on his own one day. And his dad is like, fuck that. And then you see him, he is this trained assassin who's also like super smart and highly successful, right? Like, now you may not agree with his line of work, but seems to have worked out all right for him.
Yeah, okay.
So we have
okay.
done another movie that was directed by the same guy that directed this. Can you guess what that is based on The Accountant? It's also a very machismo movie. I'm not going to let you guess anymore. It was Warrior.
Oh, okay.
So,
I was gonna guess like Thin Red Line or something.
and we're also eventually going to do another one with him, The Way Back, the Ben Affleck movie, The Way Back.
Another Ben Affleck movie. Is it machismo like this?
No, that one's really about it's about men. It's about a man suffering from alcoholism and how he deals with it and the way it ruins his life.
Taylor and I were talking about this movie as a way, and I text you this. I never got a reply from you, so I'm wondering what you thought of my analysis. Where it's like if you wrote your movie as an action flick, like your life as an action flick. Like you're like, oh, I'm just like some accounting, lawyer, math guy. It's like, but wouldn't it be cool if I was also a killer?
I mean, who knows? You know what I mean? Like, maybe, yeah. I don't know. Good, I have a good cover going. I don't know. Maybe the movie speaks to me in that way. I've never really thought of it. I'm a pacifist. It's another way of saying like a pussy. But
right.
I don't like fighting too much. I think I've sort of said like I would hopefully, if I wrote it, I would make maybe it a little better. Although one thing I've noticed in watching it multiple times is there is like, I think this movie almost underexplains things. Like there's a lot of like hidden
I do
details.
not agree with you.
Well, no, there are like there's a lot of hidden detail that are like very like subtle details about like, I think one of the problems I had, early on watching this movie is they're like, oh yeah, we have no information on this guy. And it's like, wait, what? Why? And then it turns out that the dad is like a psyops guy, which they sort of barely mention, but that's like because of that, his son got into that. So it's like the military gave these guys fake names. So there's never going to be a trail on this. It's why this guy is able to
Oh,
sort
okay.
of evade everything. But it's like, it's so like very like subtly put in there. It's like of just a line, and you're like, and then like the badge, the patches that they have on their military uniforms. But then in other aspects, there's like the I almost said JK Rowling, the JK Simmons scene in the house in Chicago is like just an exposition dump. You know what I mean? In
No,
like
so
another
that's my
respect.
I think that's my biggest problem with the movie is that scene being just a gigantic exposition dump. If it wasn't for the fact, and this is where I think the movie kind of saves itself from that, is that you see clips of like the funeral, you see clips of him making friends with the guy from Arrested Development in prison.
Tambor.
You see different clips, and what the J.K. Simmons exposition dump does is that it like connects the dots and fills in the blanks from what you've already seen, although it is a pretty heavy-handed in doing that.
I think the other issue I had when I first watched this movie, and it's just something I guess because I've gotten used to story wise, is that JK starts out in this with this girl Medina, and he's like, "Hey, you lied on a federal employment application, which is a felony, which in most instances would just result in her being fired, not actually putting, they wouldn't actually probably go after her. They can, but he's like, I'm gonna put you in jail unless you figure out who this guy is. And then at the end, he's like, yeah, so this is my run-in with this guy, and like I did all this because I now want you to work with him. It's like, what? Why? Like, why did you?
Yeah,
Like, this was a test. This was
yeah,
just
it's like
a test
it's
for
like a
her.
weird trial by fire thing.
Yeah.
So there was a weird part about it in the end where like his name is like J.K. Simmons' character's name is Ray King, right?
Yes.
And then at the end, she's like brought up to the stand to speak on behalf of the department. And she's like, it's really a team effort. And we really have to thank Elliot Ness. And I'm like,
She doesn't say
Elliot.
Elliot. She doesn't say Elliot Ness.
She did.
No, the British lady says Elliot Ness, unless you had a different version that I did on yours. If yours was like a director's cut, the British lady was like, "Tell Elliot Ness to take his feet off the desk."
Oh, you're fucking right. Okay, so
Do you know who Elliot Ness is, right?
I know who Elliot Ness is, but it confused the hell out of me because I was like, I know that his name is Ray King,
Yeah.
and so I'm like, Elliot Ness. I'm like, oh, the guy who stopped Capone, right?
Yeah.
But guess what? Here's something funny, super random fact. But one of the first big motion picture parts that Jon Berthnal
What's his name?
had.
Bernthal?
Bernthal?
Bernthal.
Bernthal.
There we go.
I hate you. One of the big motion picture roles he had was he played in The Night at the Museum 2.
Okay.
And this was before Walking Dead. This was before Punisher. This was like pretty early on. He played Capone.
Really? That's funny.
I thought that was...
I do not remember that. I mean, I think I've seen Night at the Museum too. I do not remember that at all.
But he played Capone, and I thought, wow, what a weird connection this movie just made.
I remember, is that the one with Amy Adams where she's like Amelia Earhart?
Yeah.
I just remember there's a part where she's like walking to get on a plane as it like walks off the screen, and I jokingly like bent my head to like try and check her out as as she walks up. Like everyone like with me was just like, "Oh, you fucking idiot!"
Wow.
So let's start. We already sort of have it opens with the shooting, and I think this movie too. One of the kind of cool things about it, and what it's going for, is the movie is a bit of a puzzle. And, it has that Ali puzzle thing that happens in like the second part.
The poster is a puzzle.
Which poster?
The poster for the movie is literally like Ben Affleck with a gun, and then there's like puzzle pieces around him.
Correct. Yeah. So you see that opening shooting and you're like, all right, no context for what this is, but eventually find out. Although I will say a puzzle usually doesn't just spell it out for you. I guess it does when you've solved it all, but J.K. Simmons is the one who tells us everything.
Well,
But
also, like, you hear the guy who's being tortured or beaten to death, like, "Hey, I never laid a hand on the old man." As soon as you see the guy in prison, like, being friends with Ben Affleck, you better be just like, "Oh, okay, that's the old man."
yeah, right. Which is, I mean, I think they're going for this like puzzle aspect. I just think like everything kind of felt pretty obvious when you first watched it to me.
Yeah.
And maybe that's, I don't know, maybe I'm a genius. Who knows?
Mm,
So we get that opening. We get him at the home for autism, and his father's like, "No, we're not. We're not doing that." And then we see the farmers, and he's helping them with the taxes, and they're like, she's like, "Oh, what's that necklace? Do you make those?" "I do." And he's like, "Oh, you a home office?" She's like, "Yeah." Like, "How many square feet would that be?" He's like, 200. And she's like,
raise it up.
"Where's that? 300." She's like, that sounds good. Um, and then we get the Officer Medina thing where he's like, you're gonna be
Stone Cold Medina.
you're gonna go to jail unless you figure out who this is. I think the part that part that makes me laugh is he shows all the pictures and it's like you can clearly see like Ben Affleck in the back of these just looking away from the camera. And like because we like have seen a million movies with Ben Affleck, it's just funny to see him like in the background of all these photos, like newspaper in front of his face, like a hat pulled down over his eyes.
I can't wait for a movie to like do something like that, and they'd be like, "Well, it's either this guy named Christian Wolf or Ben fucking Affleck," and I
It
know it's not Ben Affleck.
looks a lot like Ben Affleck. So yeah, and then JK is just like a real asshole, in this beginning part, and you're like, what? Like, I don't know.
But he's so good at playing a fucking asshole, like an asshole with a heart of gold.
After this, we get the immersion therapy with the light and the sound, and then we get the flashback to the mom leaving where he freaks out, and the brother flicks her off. Which I love at the end when the brother's like, "You got dad killed because you went to that bitch's funeral. Like, why did you have to see her? Like, she left us. Like, why did you have to do that?"
Obviously holding some resentment towards the mother. I love the scene where like her new husband and children walk in, but they're like the kids are like the ages that they were when she left them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she had this whole new life. I guess we don't hear why she died, but it was like some sort of accident. So, and then we see like all this, opening is just exposition to then be explained in the movie, right? Like you're like, I don't know exactly what this is, but we see the sniper shot thing where the farmer's like, "What, this guy's seen too many westerns. It's like a mile. There's no way." Right? Just he's like, "Oh, flea shit." And then Jeffrey
Well, especially
Tambor.
when she's out there like calling his name, like I don't know about you, but like even as the audience, we're like, where the fuck is he? Because it's like panning around and you don't see him.
Yep. And then the next job is the Chicago Robotics. And his handler, for the longest time, I thought this was like Emily Mortimer was doing the voice, and it's not. So the woman who plays Justine at the very end is also doing the voice, and she has like a British accent. But I, for the longest time, just thought it was Emily Mortimer, who, if you look up, you'd then be like, "Oh yeah, that does look like it would sound like her." So, but he goes this.
Justine.
Justine is the very on the spectrum woman.
Oh, that's her. Oh, wait. Oh, shit.
Are you joking,
Oh,
Alon?
shit.
You did not get that reveal.
I did not get that reveal at all.
They show the Ali puzzle in her room at the end.
Well, no, but I mean, I get that because he made it with her. Like, that's the same
She
little
says,
girl.
"What's up, Dreamboat?" to the little kid. She does the voice, and then the dad of the little kid is like, "She could backdoor the Pentagon with that computer in there."
No.
Did you stop paying attention?
No. It's just like, I thought the whole point of showing us this was like, oh, after all these years, he's still taking care of her. Because she was like the only person who was nice to him when they were like little, right?
Yeah.
But so I was like, oh, that's the only point that the movie was trying to make. I didn't quite put two and two together that she was the voice. That's cool. Damn.
That's actually one of the ones I like. Yeah, that's like a cool moment that you didn't see coming, or at least I didn't see coming.
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, I said I didn't see it coming until a few seconds ago.
So then the scene where he goes to the robotics and he's like, "How long have you been CFO?" Okay, I'll need to go back 15 years in the books. And he's like, "Oh, you're a direct bastard, aren't you?"
You know what's so funny is as soon as I saw that John Lithgow was
Yep,
I was like, it's John Lithgow.
he's the bad guy. Yes, yeah. That's another like it's just I mean, what are you gonna do though, right? But I will say Gene Smart also being in it, like you could see her being the bad guy.
I did not see him killing his sister.
Well, if he's the bad guy, I can see him doing pretty much anything, right? Like in this movie.
Yes, but like I thought that it was her and him working together in tandem. But I didn't expect that she was like, because they posed the question like, why would she hire you if she was only going to, like, and then it made sense.
Well, except it's funny is John Lithgow hired him. He's like, I should have never hired you or whatever. But I thought originally the point was going to be like, oh, Dana came to her, so she's like, we have to hire, someone to look through this.
Right.
And John Lithgow's like, oh fuck, all right, yeah, I guess let's have someone look at it.
But
But
so
when it,
why did the CFO have to die? Because he was actually skimming money?
no, he was going to be the fall guy. They kill him so that the accountant stops looking at everything.
Oh, but he can't just stop in the middle of something. He has to
Well,
finish it.
yeah, because then when he kills him and then he comes to meet him and he's like, "What? I have to finish. I have to finish. I have to finish." So then the CEO's like, "All right, well, fuck, I have to kill this guy and Dana too because they're not going to let this go."
I don't quite get the Dana thing. I mean, I do as the motivation of like getting the movie going, but like if you think about it, she really does not care anywhere close as near as he cares.
And she would accept the CFO did it. She would accept and be like, "Oh, that makes
Yeah,
sense."
exactly.
I don't. But I mean, I guess you could say the whole thing is like he finds the money and he's like, "Oh, it's being put back."
But like she was the one who like found the missing funds in the first
Yeah,
place.
no, I had moved past that point. What I was saying is, why do you even have to kill the CFO? Why can't you just? I guess because the CFO would know, hey, I wasn't doing this, so you have to kill the CFO. I guess,
I guess.
but why couldn't you just be like, hey, yeah, so I was doing this. This is why. Keep your fucking mouth shut. Like I don't. It feels like John Lithgow could have just been like, okay, you figured it out. Thanks, accountant. Paid off, and now we'll fix it from here. I'm gonna take care of it how I want to take care of it. Like he kind of brought all these problems on himself that he really didn't need to. Like if you have 61, like you said, if you can start putting back $61 million, you have the power to do a lot of things. You didn't have to do it this way. It's kind of reminds me a little bit of like Tilda Swinton in
Michael Clayton.
Michael Clayton. Yeah, thank you for being able to pick that up. Like like I'm not the guy you kill. I'm the guy you pay off. It's like
Right.
you couldn't have fucked this up more with your decision making. So we then meet Bernthal in a great scene with the guy. He's like, "You're spreading false rumors while also shorting the stock." He's like, "You'll have to, you're gonna stop doing that, aren't you?" And he's like, "You're gonna have to be more specific." And he's like, "Well, I guess you'll just have to stop shorting them all." He's like,
Basically, stop making money and stop your way of living.
"Well, this is a good point. Like, what that guy is doing should be fucking illegal, but it is not, and it is the way a lot of people make money." Shorting a stock and then because they have some sort of like notoriety in the industry talking shit about that stock and thereby driving the price down and making themselves money. Like
Doesn't
it's
like Elon Musk do that all the time on Twitter?
I don't know if he specifically does that. I know there are other people who have been accused of doing things like that. The guy from The Big Short played by Christian Bale, I think has been accused of doing something like that. There's a lot of guys that do it. I don't know if Elon has specifically.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's just a thing that should not fucking be allowed. Like you should not be allowed to drive the stock price down like on something you're shorting. That's insane.
For Braxton, he obviously did not do this out of his self. He was hired. He's like a hired hand.
Yeah, he works for an unnamed organization, or maybe he's just like in the yellow pages. Like you can find him. Like I don't know. His whole backstory is not explained, obviously.
But it's funny how Christian's accounting firm is called ZZZ Accounting, so that like He does not want to be found in the yellow pages. He does not want to be like, I don't even know how these farmers actually stumbled upon him.
Well, because they just were driving by his place and like, oh, let's go to that accounting.
Right. Which is how he would probably just get his, few people. But on the other hand, Braxton like really wants to get hired by everyone.
Well, I'm sure he's not suffering for business. You know what I mean? I think he's probably people need him quite a bit. So we next meet Anna Kendrick. I love. She's like, I can answer any of your questions. He's like, I have no questions. I don't need you at all. And then we like simultaneous. This is two movies going on at once. You have Medina hunting for this guy, and then you have Christian Wolf doing the robotics thing. And so she's talking to a guy at the NSA who's like, what the fuck are you like? What are you doing? Like what have you gotten yourself into? She like, this almost seems like CSI bullshit, like where she's like, oh, take a side profile picture of this guy from this photo and then match it to any video we have at the NSA, like
Right.
anything that's ever been videotaped ever, and see if we can find him.
Right. Match facial recognition, enhance again.
Yeah.
Enlarge, enhance. Yeah.
So then she hears the Solomon Grundy thing while she's investigating. I like the back and forth between Anna Kendrick and Ben Affleck. I was like, every time I'm like, I'm glad that they don't try and make anything sexual out of this. And then they sort of do. You kind of forget about it because she leans in as to go for it. And then he's like, oh, wait, I've cracked this whole thing. I know what's happening here. And like nothing ever comes of it again.
Also, I'm autistic and I don't really look for that sort of connection to people.
Yeah.
Like there's that. But like also he saved her life. So of course there might be like a little attraction there. The best Anna Kendrick moment is she stumbles in his trailer and she's like looking over everything, his Renoir, he fucking has Action Comics #1.
I
Like,
knew you'd mention it.
First of all, that's the most expensive comic book ever to exist, and in that condition is well worth easy $1 million plus.
Well, he also has a Honus Wagner, which is the rarest baseball card ever. There's like 100 of them, and like none of them are in good condition.
He has first appearance of Green Lantern, like that. Those are just hundreds of thousands of dollars.
I'm so happy you were able to nerd out on that. I knew you would notice it.
Well, I also noticed that out of all the comic books that he had, he grabbed the rarest, the best one. Yeah, easily $1 million. But like a Pollock and a Renoir, and it's like just millions of dollars worth of paintings.
Yeah, because he does work for like rich, Middle Eastern concerns that have billions, maybe even trillions of dollars. So yeah, they're like, here, take this painting. I don't fucking want this anymore.
Crazy.
So we get the sort of the scene that shows him doing all the investigating, throwing the pens into the trash over and over again. And then he figures it out. And he's like so happy he solved his puzzle. And then he explains it to Anna Kendrick. And then Bernthal visits Ed. I think Bernthal's in like probably all of my favorite scenes. Him's like Ed comes down. He's like, I want to treat you like an adult. You're either going to kill yourself or we're going to violate your wife. And then he says, I shouldn't have said that about violating your wife. He's like, physiologically, it's a non-starter. So I was like, is he saying he's gay or is he saying he can't rape? Like he's not like physiologically it's a non-starter. I was like, what does that mean?
I thought he was saying how ugly his wife was.
She's very old. I find her very. I think it's a funny moment where Ed's like, "Wait, hold on, I'll take it." But wait, what did you mean physiologically? What are you saying? What are you saying about my wife, man?
So yeah, the goons. I wasn't a big fan. Also, it was like one of those like things, just like especially at the end where it was just like an endless amount of goons.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, like 10 to 15. Like 2 died in the beginning.
Felt like they kept going, man.
Bernthal too is like, I guess his goons were involved like all the way on this because I don't know.
Well, yeah, but it's not just like he's like obviously the head of like a security firm or a security team. Like he's like a black market security assassinator.
You know what's funny is that somehow these two haven't run into each other when they're obviously running in the same circles, right? Like they were recommended a kind of a like an under the radar accountant, right? Like a guy that deals with like money laundering people. And then they're also here's a referral for a guy who can kill people. You know what I mean? Like it's probably from the same sheik like gave him both referrals. He's
Right,
like,
right. But like, hold on. If Christian Wolf did clear something up for me, does Christian Wolf do illegal things?
I think like probably there's like some technicalities of I mean, Medina even says he's cooking the books for bad people, but like he's almost treating himself as like an undercover agent, right? Because he's like, oh, I cook the books, but then I report them, and that's sort of what J.K. says. He's like, yeah, like you just have to kind of figure out if you're okay with this, but he's giving us all of these people all the time. He has his own sort of sense of morality.
Right. Well, the reason I bring it up is because what if they just went to him honestly and was like, "Hey, we're skimming money off the top and we need you to make it look good." Would he have just been like, "Okay, sure, I do it for all the time. I do it for the sheik all the time." But then they're like, "Oh man, he's going to find out about our illegal operation. We better go fucking kill him."
Well,
Like
that
it
was
would
my
probably
point
just
earlier about Lithgow, like kind of fucking up. Like I'm the guy you pay. I'm not the guy you try to kill. Like
oh, your Michael
you
Clayton reference.
misread
Right.
this. You misread this situation.
Right.
So he's cleaning up the room. Lithgow's like, my friend killed himself. We're done. And then he's like, I hope our paths never cross again. Then we get the farmhouse scene, the flashback to training as kids in like Indonesia, which apparently the martial arts that they do in this film and the guy training them is the same martial arts that they do in the Raid Redemption, which is a movie we will be doing. It's called like Penkat Salat or whatever. We're gonna be doing the Raid, probably the Raid 2 as well. So just be prepared for like a feast of martial arts. But yeah, I just thought that
We'll
was like a
save it for
cool
next year.
yeah, like May, martial arts May. But it'll
Some
just
more
be
Jackie Chan? Yeah, that'll be good.
so farmhouse scene, pretty sweet though. I like just pulls out a belt to kill this guy that's got a knife.
Yeah.
And I love the way he kills he hits the bearded guy and like with the belt, and the bearded guy's like, what the fuck? Like, just,
I thought it was a cool kind of a double reveal where it's like, "Hey, I'm going to tell you your employer and you're going to tell me when I'm correct." And he goes down all these people who he's worked with or he's worked for in the past that he can think of like, "Oh, these are people who would want to tie me off as a loose end." And then he was just not getting anywhere and the guy was like, "You're
like,
never going to get it."
do you understand the rules?
Do you- um and he was like, "All right, in my pocket, there's your answer." And I think it's a great reveal that it's not only Dana's ID, because it's like, oh, they're also after her, but it's the name of the company. Like it answers two questions at the same time. And I thought that was really efficient of this movie to do that. I thought it was inefficient for him to like, why would this bearded guy have the mission to kill Dana after killing the accountant if they already sent a team of 4 to go kill Dana?
Well, this just seems to be like one of the head guys, so he just has the ID and is like, go kill her. So he's
I
like,
guess. So they send 2 people to go kill the here's actually it's a fucked up situation, David. They send 2 people to go kill the accountant at this farmhouse with these 2 senior citizens. They send 4 people to go kill a little girl.
yeah, I think they're lower guys, so they're like less trustworthy.
I mean, I have to say though, Anna Kendrick fought her ass off.
So let's get to that real quick. So he's running away. She's like, don't go after her. She's not worth it. She's trying to protect him. The voice is. Also, the funny thing, Bull or Babbage. He's like, Bull. obviously, which it's a joke that I don't really get, but I assume it's just funny.
I
So
don't. Oh wait, in what context?
she asks, "What's his next alias going to be, Boole or Babbage?" And he goes, "Boole, obviously," and she goes, "Obviously." Like it, but it's
Oh, I
like
bet
the
it's
joke.
just another mathematician or something.
I think they both are, but it's just like I think he's maybe saying one is way better than the other. Like obviously, I'd want to go with this one. I don't know, but it's a joke that goes over my head. So Anna Kendrick, drives there, sees the guys going up to kill her. She hits the one guy in the face with like a grate or something, goes into the bathroom. He blasts a hole through the door, sticks his hand in, and she takes the back of the
Yeah,
toilet.
yeah.
It would break his fucking hand. I don't care how weak she swung that really fucking hard. His hand is completely fucking gone. Like it's not working anymore after that.
Yep.
So just a little bit of like disbelief on that. And then I love the way that he does I forget what the term is for it. It's like a
Boole and Babbage Incorporated, founded as K&K Associates, was an American automation computer software company based in San Jose, California. It was the oldest systems management company in the world before being bought out by BMC Software. George Boole is an English mathematician who helped establish modern symbolic logic and whose algebra of logic, now called Boolean algebra, is basically the design of how digital computer circuits are made.
It's also Boolean like search.
Yeah.
Have you ever done that? Like where you have to type like the and symbol or like W3. Like if you're trying to search for something and you want to search with words. So Google, when you search, you just type in like, I don't know, like big titties, right? But if you wanted to be more precise, you would type in big W/3 titties if you wanted them to be like closer in the paragraph, or big and then titties in like parentheses around, you know what I mean? Like exclamation, you know what I'm talking about? What are those
Oh
called?
yeah, yeah,
Quote
yeah.
marks.
I
And
now know
that
what you
means
mean.
they'll be right together. That's
But
Boolean
you can
searching.
still do that in Google.
You can. Yeah, you don't necessarily have to, but you can. So anyway, I was
Is
looking
there
up
a symbol for like big old titties?
no, that's Tiggle Bitties. So
Oh.
the thing I was looking up while you were looking up something, the Mozambique drill is the thing where he shoots the guy twice in the chest and then once in the head. Like
Mm-hmm.
as he's going down the hallway, he always makes sure these guys are dead.
Yeah.
And it just shows you like the training that his dad has given him. But yeah, I love the scene where he kills the guys going after Hannah Kendrick. I do think that guy's hand is completely fucking just obliterated though. Like he's not using it after that. And then he kills the guy in the bathroom and just looks at her and he's like, we should go. We need to get out of here.
It's cool in two parts where she like grabs the stove, like the ironclad stove top, and hits him with it, and then the toilet thing. I'm like, girl's a badass. And then my favorite line is when they're in the trailer and she looks at all of his cool shit and she turns and she's like, "Who are you?"
Yeah, very good. So after this, we get the Medina calls some guy and is like, yeah, the Solomon Grundy thing. He repeats it. He's like, it's really weird. The guy repeats it like 4.5 times, zero change in tone, cadence, like anything. Like he just says it the exact same way. He's like, was this like a high stress situation? She's like, yeah. And then after that, the hotel scene, and she tells this dress story, and it's the first time where I'm like, wait, why is she telling this dress story? Like, it's just she's just like trying to tell a little about herself, or like what she like who she is, or like trying to
Mm-hmm.
relate to him. I was like, what is this?
You
I
still
don't.
you still haven't figured it out?
No, yeah, you can tell me if you want.
No, I just took it as like she's explaining how she thought that this dress was going to be an investment and everything seemed good on paper about it, but then at the end of the day, it just wasn't what she thought it was. It just wasn't worth, the amount of money
Why is it? Why is it in the movie? I don't
because
understand.
I thought it was a metaphor of her trying to be like, hey, like maybe she's not worth his time.
Well, because he does say you deserve someone who says "wow" when you walk in a room or whatever. Yeah, but like to me, it's like the movie's like, oh, we don't really want to have a sex scene here, but like also want to put a little something in here. But I don't know,
I
the whole
did,
dress thing. I'm like, this is sort of slowing the movie down to a pace I
what
don't need.
I agree. What's not slowing the movie down though is when Medina is figuring out that the guy she's tracking possibly has autism, at the same time going through the aliases and finding out that it's a bunch of these mathematicians with autism, and that's how she narrows it down into like, okay, his next alias, or like this could be one of his aliases, to eventually come to Christian Wolf. Now, with Christian Wolf, maybe you can explain to me now, what is the significance of him having made $1 million plus?
It was just it's a way to, they're just, if this guy works with these like black market people, then he's making a shit ton of money, and it's an easy parameter to flag. It's just like a guess by her that this dude's going to make a ton of money.
But
And
is it because she knows he has a moral code to like audit himself? Like he has to launder this money through certain businesses?
no, it's that he knows the way that you get caught by these people is like not reporting it, right? Or like, which not necessarily true. Like I mean, fucking black, he could have easily probably gotten away with
Well, that's what
not
I'm saying. If he
reporting it.
gets all his money and his assets from the black market and illegal operations anyways,
But I
then
mean,
like,
he broke the law in laundering the money through fake businesses anyway, right? But he's just trying to keep it under the radar. This is a lot of money, and he thinks they'll notice. So he's like, I got to do it in a way that like is sort of above board. Although he put what $500,000 going through a dry cleaner. She's like, come on, what the fuck is that? It's like
yeah, yeah,
that
yeah.
makes no sense. So I think that's the reason why. So we skipped a little bit where we see the scene where Bernthal walks out of Rita's, and Ben Affleck follows him. I think is great. Where Bernthal's like, I'm not really sure what's going on here, but I'm going to shoot this car so I can escape. I'm just going to shoot back there. This guy's going to have to duck, and then I can take off.
There's a little bit of a hint later on where he's like, I think it's John Lithgow explaining like this
I knew this freak
freak.
wouldn't give up.
Yeah, and then
And
he's like,
he looks at him. He's like, "Oh fuck!" That's like the first clue we get where he's like, "Oh shit." I love the flashback with the French kids where the dad's like, "You're gonna go beat these French kids up right now, or like I'm gonna beat the shit out of you,"
yeah.
basically. And then he's like, "Are you gonna choose to be a victim, or?" And then he's like, "And is your brother gonna choose to be loyal, or what's the choice?" And he goes out there and doesn't even need his brother's help, but the way he sicks the brother Bernthal, basically Braxton, sicks him out like a dog. He's like that, gives him the nod, and Braxton just fucking runs chasing this kid down.
Just the
I
kid
was
that's
like,
running away. Yeah. I
yeah.
mean, do you think that the Ben Affleck's character has like that strength?
What are you trying to say?
Like
What
like like the- like
you know what I'm
like
saying?
that
No,
strength.
I don't think so. I think he has the crazy. I think he can summon it where he can go wild.
Yeah.
That might be a thing I'm willing to say. I don't know if that's
I don't know if we are allowed to say
yeah.
any of this.
So J.K. Simmons goes to his house. They find he's like, how does he protect the front? And you just find the fucking huge gun, and the other cops are like, who the fuck?
Dude,
Like,
it's a minigun attached. That was like, I was so sad that we did not see that work.
well, there's always the accountant too. You know what I'm saying? So
That's true.
maybe we'll get in that.
Have
And
you read
then
the synopsis for The Accountant 2?
I have not. I have no idea what it's about.
Would you like me to tell you what the synopsis is for The Accountant 2?
If you want.
Basically, Christian has to team up with his estranged brother Braxton to take on assassins.
Yeah, I mean, I saw that they were teaming up in the like a little mini trailer or whatever. Assassins. That's exciting.
Yeah.
So Bernthal's at Lithgow's house, and he's like, Lithgow's like, why are you here? Why this seems so unnecessary? You should be at his house. And he's like, I love people telling me how to do my job. He's like, I told you to leave the fucking country, and you didn't want to do that.
Yeah.
And he's like, he's just an accountant. So this is cool too.
He's just an equalizer.
The Medina backstory where he's like, all right, Medina, so why did you end up going to jail? And she's like, I almost cooked my sister's drug dealer to death. And she's like, now she's a mom with 3 kids. So no, I do not regret it. And I was like, all right, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then he tells him all about, oh, dude, the Tambor torture scene. Oh, just like even alluding to it was like, oh, that's rough.
Yeah. I like I said, we saw enough in the beginning and throughout the movie to like connect all the exposition together to be like, okay, it's a lot of exposition, but like I know where they're coming from on this. And then for him, I think the biggest reveal, more than that it's his brother and more than she's the girl in the chair, I think it's the fact that he's like, hey, I'm training for you to be able to work with him and also to be, and I think that's why he picked her, right? Because she has like this like morally checkered past that she's like okay with doing wrong if the outcome is right, and
Something
knowing
something
that
that
in
is
her,
something that is illegal but is morally like gray or correct depending on how you look at it.
which is why she's the perfect person in the end to work with
I'm surprised there
Wolf.
wasn't a line where it was like, "Well, what about that dude? She's like, he kills people. It's like, what about your sister's drug dealer?
Yeah.
Did you almost kill him?" So then she like they get a call from the British lady. And it's like living robotics, and then this is like the most John Wick scene. Ben Affleck taking out the home, and I had this thought this time where Bernthal at this point has to know it's him. Maybe he's unsure, but is he like telling the guys to go to the front door because he's like that's the right thing for them to do, is like trying to protect the house, or is he like helping his brother out at this point? Is he unsure? Is he's like, if it is my brother, it doesn't matter what you fucking guys do, like you're all dead.
No,
I
I don't think he was certain. I I know that look kind of like when he said that freak and he gives a look like, could it be my brother? But I don't think you have to take that to heart. I think he doesn't know. And I love how I love it and I hate it, right? Like the Solomon Grundy thing is a great thing to like kind of spearhead like, oh, this is how he's recognizable through anyone, especially us, the audience. But I and you might see that as like hokey or cheesy or whatever, but I do love how John Berthnal Braxton finishes the rhyme like at the same time that Wolf is finishing the rhyme, because it's like made the connection, and then at that point he's like, okay, 100% that's my brother, and then he kills his own guy.
Yeah, yeah, that is true. I guess that part does make sense. And then they sort of fight, and just John Lithgow's watching this like so fucking confused about what is happening. He's like, what are you guys doing?" When he should have run away. Like he
Oh, I
needed to
thought
take that time to run.
so. There's that moment where like Braxton and Wolf are sitting across from each other and they're kind of like yelling slash laughing slash reminiscing slash getting on to each other about everything, right? Like they have a lot of catching up to do.
Yeah.
And I really thought Lithgow was going to walk out and just pop Berthnall in the head.
I don't think he has that in him.
But then he
He
was
has the
popped in the head.
he starts yelling at him, and you just know like the music is rising that like he's just about to shoot him. But like couldn't get over him just being like I don't understand what's happening right here. Like why are you just talking to this guy? And then as he's like saying the Solomon Grundy rhyme, the same time John Lithgow goes, "What is this? Like what is happening?" So he
Uh,
kills him, and then the line where he's like, "I wanted you to be safe. Some of my clients are quite dangerous." He's like, "I'm considered fairly dangerous too." And he's like, "Yeah, you've improved."
yeah, exactly. Exactly. I love it. Like I actually am pretty stoked for the sequel coming out in a couple weeks because well, actually when this episode airs, it'll already be out. But
Be out that week.
to see them together again 9 years later, that's pretty exciting.
I Going back to it, I love he shoots Lithgow, and Jon Bernthal does not even react to it. He acts as if it didn't happen. He shoots him, and he's just like, "This is what it
He
takes for me to
does and he
see you."
doesn't, right? It's like the
He
John
doesn't care
Berthnall
at all.
type
This
of
is like a
acting.
job. This is like a job. He's like, "Oh man, you fucked up my report I had to make. Like you messed up my Excel spreadsheet."
Well,
Like he
but no, but
doesn't care.
he cares in that way, right? Like he cares that his job is done. Like his job is fucked. He's
Who?
not getting paid.
Oh well, yeah.
John, like John's
But he
not getting
doesn't
paid.
react to it. He only cares about his brother in that scene.
Yeah, but the acting is I love John's acting so much because it's nuanced, it's layered. It's like you have that him not caring about it, but then you have him caring, and it's I don't know. His acting's pretty great.
And he's like, "I'll see you in a week. How do I find you? You won't. I'll find you." And then the Justine scene, which just apparently completely went over your head the first time.
I can't believe that. I feel so dumb. But that, I mean, it's cool. It just adds on to the cool. And then we end with like, which I think is like one of the coolest endings is Anna Kendrick gets a package and it's the painting of dogs playing poker, which they talked about. They like had a connection
He's like, "I
with.
love dogs playing poker." It's
And
it's anachronistic because they would never do.
I like anachronistic. The her peeling it back and revealing the Pollock, because before that was revealed, I was thinking to myself, I was like, wow, the film writers for this movie really probably struggled with themselves. Hey, when she opens this painting, is it going to be dogs playing poker or is it going to be the Jackson Pollock? And I was like, she opens it and it's the dogs playing poker. I was like, oh man, how many rewrites I wonder that this writing room had to do to be like, hey, does the movie end better if it's the dogs playing poker, or does the movie end better if it's the Pollock? And I was like, sons of bitches, they got both.
They had their cake and they ate it too.
Yeah, yeah. But I think it's awesome, and her like her look, her going back to the storage unit and being kind of like missing him. I thought that was sweet.
So did you notice this was filmed in Atlanta? Because I did not.
No, I mean it would have been mostly like the robotics and
The robotics was Georgia Tech.
the robotics was Georgia Tech.
Yeah, and then I'm assuming Anna Kendrick's place was in Atlanta. That looked like, I mean, that
That
could have
looked
been
like
anywhere
Midtown.
near midtown downtown
Yeah.
area. I mean, you know what that kind of looked like is over by the graveyard.
Yeah, I was thinking that. Or like uh by the when we all played Pokemon Go and we went to get Jenny's ice cream over there.
Yeah, that area. That's by the graveyard.
Oh, it is? Okay.
Yeah, it's same general vicinity. So, this movie was originally envisioned to star Mel Gibson with the Coen brothers directing.
That's insane.
That would have been pretty fucking sweet.
It would
Do
have
you
been
think?
like Josh Brolin character from No Country.
But do
Kind
they do the movie like No Country, or do they do the movie like
Oh, yeah.
Raising Arizona?
Right.
Where on the spectrum? On the spectrum would that movie have been? You know. And then there was also reports that Mel Gibson was considered to direct it later on with Will Smith starring, which I think would have been really good. That would have been,
That would have been cool.
of the two. I don't know. I would have loved to seen either of those because I don't think
But the Coen brothers directing Mel Gibson is such a weird take on this movie in the sense like you're right. Like how would they swing it? Or would they like kind of like what's like a middle ground? Like the middle ground between Raising Arizona and would it
I don't
be?
know if they have a fucking middle ground. Honestly, I mean, I
I
think
know
No Country is almost the middle ground because No Country is played pretty straight.
maybe a little bit more like Big Lebowski
That's yeah. That
yeah.
actually, yeah, but that's
Or
still
Fargo.
very.
It probably would have been more of a Fargo.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I guess. Fargo's so dark though. I mean, this would have been if they did it close to what the movie is, like that tone. That tone is like completely different than every Coen Brothers movie I've seen. I also think Mel Gibson directing it. Mel Gibson does this type of movie, and then Will Smith interested for him to play, autistic. That would have. I don't know. I don't think have we seen that.
Um,
No, no slap jokes. Stop it. And yeah, I don't think I really have anything else. I'm excited for two. I think this is like kind of it's just reported that they're doing another Roadhouse 2. Guess
mm,
who's attached to direct right now? This will make you actually excited for the sequel. Guy Ritchie. Guy
okay,
Ritchie.
that's. I mean, if I would have guessed anyone, that's who I would have guessed.
I mean, I like the guy who originally directed it. I just think there were some really bad writing choices in that movie, having just watched it for a third time. So But this is the type of movie where like this movie has actually grown on me, and now I'm like super excited for a sequel. I really hope they don't fuck it up, which is like the first time I watched this, I was like, there's nothing to fuck up. Like it was okay. I this was I'm really like, I don't know. I dig The Accountant now. I think it's a good movie.
But is it going to be like a John Wick thing where we're going to get like 3 accountants in the next 3 years, or is it going to be like, oh, they're aged about 10 years from the first one. This is kind of like a sequel and we're done. We're out of here.
I'm not sure. Also, Jon Bernthal just needs his own fucking movies now. You know what I mean? Like, I love seeing him in everything, but like, what are we doing?
You're right. I mean, why hasn't he kind of been like the lead in like a lot of films? Like he gets his own show and that's fun, but like, yeah, where's Jon Berthnal's King Richard?
I'm gonna have to ask you to just stop saying his name because it's not great. He did have the American Gigolo TV series, which I need to watch. Although,
Well, like I said, he had TV shows. He had Punisher. He had this. He had American Gigolo. But I don't know. Maybe I'm just not aware of like a Jon Berthnal starring movie.
what's his name again?
Jon Berthnal.
Huh?
Jon Berthnal.
Well, thanks for listening to another episode of I Finally Watched. This is David.
And this is Alain. And I finally watched The Accountant.
Starring Jon Bernthal.
Bernthal.